amphibian time. For some reason, I'm like more excited to talk about the amphibians than the reptiles. When the reptile room tour had 32 animals, and this one's gonna have 4, because I only have 4 amphibians. There's 3 here, 1 behind me because I can't take her out. She'll probably die. I'm excited. Let's get started. So I've got 4 here. I'll go ahead over just all 4 that I have and then talk about each. There's also one on my shirt. You can buy it with the link below, but it ends in like 2 days, so you should buy it like before you watch the video. Anyway, we just lost a toad. Oh yeah, there goes them liquids. Oh. I almost didn't put a tablecloth because I knew there was going to be a lot of pee, but it's worth it because the table looked gross, probably from more pee. So we've got 4 species here. We've got the American toad, the chubby frog, the chocolate chip toad, and the axolotl behind me. First, let's go over name. Oh my god, the pee smells. First, let's go over the names first. First off, right here, turned around because he doesn't like the lights, is Potato. His name's Potato because it's a dumb name and he's kind of dumb too. He doesn't do anything. Potatoes don't do much either. That's Potato. Then we've got Betty. The other 3 are actually named from Adventure Time characters because I love Adventure Time more than reptiles and amphibians. Betty here is named after Betty in the show. She's like technically from 1,000 years ago, but that's like today because Adventure Time takes place 1,000 years in the future and then she comes back. We won't get into the lore of Adventure Time, but that's Betty. You get the idea. This is Sue. Betty and Sue, the names just go together well, but then I also remember that Sue is like a very small minor character in Adventure Time, so what do you know, we got more Adventure Time, that's Sue. And then behind me is Wooby Woo, that's the axolotl, named after Wooby Woo from the town of named after Wooby Woo from the town of Wooby Woos. It's hard to say Wooby Woo a lot, so when I'm talking about Wooby Woo, I usually just call her Wooby or Woobs. It's a good thing that she doesn't go to school because she'd be bullied for it. But that's Wooby Woo, we'll just call her Wooby. I've actually had amphibians longer than reptiles, which might be why they hold a special place in my heart and why I can never go without them. They're so fun, for the most part they're pretty easy, and they're just so weird. It's great. They also get a lot of likes on Instagram. The problem is, as we'll get into, is the majority of species are imported or wild caught compared to captive bred. Usually with reptiles you always want to get captive bred species because they are not affecting the outside environment, you're not taking an animal from its natural habitat, and you're reducing the risk of anything like parasites or any other issues that they might have picked up out in the wild. For example, my Savannah monitor, who I got off Craigslist, so I wasn't supporting an actual wild-caught seller, but she was from Craigslist and she had parasites, and just that alone costed me about $500, plus the fact that, like, you just don't want to take animals like that. Oh, she just... Stop trying to eat my finger, please. I think there's certain times where it can be appropriate depending on how you've done it. For example, Betty here, my American toad, they're native to North Carolina, where I live, and I caught her like 5 years ago now. I've been catching American toads for like probably 10 years or something, and Betty is an individual that was from a construction site. Well, it was going to be a construction site. It was all like beautiful woods, but as of recording this, it's a neighborhood. So of course I could have just relocated her to a natural area that was like protected or whatever. First of all, I think it's illegal to bring animals to protected places like parks. But either way, I have done that for about 98 to 99% of the animals that I've caught. They were either released or relocated, but in the past I had occasionally kept them. So that's how we got Betty. I got her when she was an adult. She's still an adult. American toads, something I googled said they can live up to like 40 years or something. Overall, they die a lot, like in the wild. There's just a lot of things in the wild that's against them. So basically, toads living outside are not really gonna live up to 40 years old. But Betty, I don't know how old she is, but she's at least an adult plus 5 years, because that's how long I've had her. And there actually was a point in time where I was concerned that she was starting to die. She seemed pretty sick, she was losing weight, she didn't really move much. It was like the middle of summer, so it wasn't like she was going into cremation or anything. And I was like, well, I don't know how old she is. I'll just try and keep upping her diet and make sure she's all good, keep track of her husbandry and stuff. And now she's basically fine. She regained that weight that she lost. All of her energy's back, so it's kind of like she was just like, had a little illness for like a couple weeks or something. So she was away from the other amphibians and animals while that was happening. But thankfully, Betty is all good and loving life. She's just in a little 10-gallon. As you can see, she moves around a lot, so she would happily use up more space. So maybe an upgrade in the future for her. But I like her cute little enclosure. It used to belong to my turtle Harriet when she was smaller. But it works well for her, and she gets a lot of outside time. We always feed her outside the enclosure to keep track of what she's eating, and just because it's fun to see her like jump around and chase food around the carpet or whatever. Next up is the newest amphibian, who is a lot more low energy than Betty. I think Betty's just so used to people over the 5 years that she just doesn't care. She won't stop trying to eat my hands. Let me get some insects. And then there is Sue on the other hand, who I've only had for a few months, since November. Let me just grab a snack for Betty. Oh, it's right in front of you. Stop looking at me, look at the food. The dubia won't, oh, okay, there we go. So Sue, I got a Repticon for like $10. Now, I keep up with the different reptile gossip online, like talking about which reptile YouTubers are good and which aren't. And something that I see a lot about me is the fact that GoHerping makes impulse purchases, like unlike these other people that I won't name. But I have made a couple impulse buys, including this toad, and my sandboa was also an impulse purchase at Repticon. I would give myself the benefit of the fact that I always have the supplies needed and the experience, but it's up to you whether you think it's okay for me to do that or not. Either way, I did it. I bought this $10 Toto Repticon. Yes, I'm sure she's imported because there's no other way to get them. They are not bred. And I felt okay doing that because there is no other way to get them, but I still think it's great to just have different unique species. I'm gonna keep these guys away from each other. So either way, regardless of your opinion on imported species, this is what's called a chocolate chip toad. Now, I already forgot the actual name because I just always called them by their common name, and when I was at Repticon, I couldn't find a single thing about them. I found one forum of someone being like, what kind of toad is this? And someone said a chocolate chip toad. And that was the only info of any chocolate chip toad. I spent a half hour at Repticon just Googling them, and I couldn't find any info. So using my common sense, I was like, they kind of look like American toads. They're kind of the same size. They're pretty similar. I'm sure it's not that much harder. And I was right. I give them the exact same husbandry, and it's perfectly fine. And Betty is just stalking poor Potato here. Oh, Indonesian toad, I guess that's what it's called. So Indonesian toads are, believe it or not, from Indonesia. As I just think of them as the more colorful, more foreign cousin of Betty. So I don't keep them together or anything. They each have their own 10 gallons right now. But this dude is a little... I feel like she's bigger. She's not as fat, but she is larger. I'm sure it's female. And, oh, they're the banner of my YouTube channel now. I took this adorable picture of them. So Betty and Sue here are currently the face of the channel. I know they're amphibians. It says reptile right next to it. Who cares? I don't. But Betty here has been eating quite well. It took a little bit to get her to eat certain things. At first she was just eating superworms or something, but then she started taking dubias pretty quickly. Potato really wants my water. So I was like, I need this toad. I got the toad. I am very happy with my $10 toad. And at the most recent Repticon where we were selling animals, I walked around and I really wanted to buy this other toad I found. It was stop. I really wanted to buy this other toad I saw at Repticon, but the seller was just garbage. His animals sucked, and I had no interest in supporting him at all. So I really wanted that toad, but I couldn't do it for the sake of supporting good sellers. So I will have my eye on toads, and the reason I don't talk about them a ton is because I know that it will encourage people to get them, which is great, but it's just hard when they are really not captive bred, and I can't find any trustworthy sellers. Frogs, on the other hand, like Potato, who we'll get to next. Please do not fall off the table. My man Potato is the weirdest shaped one. He's more of a Big Mac or something. So Potato's just so weird. He's just he's huge. He's this big spherical thing. He's great. So my friend Ethan got me Potato for my birthday almost a year ago now. It was actually just a few weeks after my Pac-Man frog Yoshi died. I want to do a whole video on Pac-Man frogs dying because it seems to be extremely common for people to have perfect husbandry and then the Pac-Man frogs just croak. No pun intended. So I went into that in more detail with his death, but Ethan knew I had the supplies and everything and an interest in more frogs, so he picked this dude up for me, and he's made me a lot of money thanks to this merchandise. But either way, he's really, he really doesn't do anything. He's a lot like Pac-Man frogs, if you know anything about them. They just sit there, they wait for their food, and that's it. Potato in particular only eats superworms. I don't really like superworms. I always go with dubias, and then if I have to go with something else, I go with mealworms, and then things like waxworms and nutrigubs just as a treat, or just some extra, extra mix into their diet. But he only has an interest in superworms. It's very weird. Even mealworms. Mealworms and superworms are the same, but for some reason he doesn't eat mealworms. So it's fine, he's been perfectly healthy on them, and it works for me since he eats them. He doesn't even eat that much, he eats like every few days, just like a single superworm, and he still maintains a crazy weight, probably because he doesn't do anything. But he is arguably one of the most easy animals in the room. So that's Potato, he's fun. Finally, Wooby Woo, who I'll show you lots of footage of, but I can't take her out. That is my axolotl. My friend Amber at Amber's Axolotls on Instagram sent her to me. It was kind of also a birthday present. I got a lot of animals for my birthday, I guess. But I knew about it, I knew it was coming, I prepared in advance, and it's my first time keeping an aquatic amphibian. So I've had tons of ups and downs with it. Most recently, the biggest issue has been the ammonia, and the pH has been crazy. We've tried like every single thing possible, and nothing worked. It was like for weeks, there were these ridiculous levels of ammonia. Even though it was clean, it was filtered out, I was doing the usual water changes every couple days, but it was not getting any better. So I got a more expensive filter. It was like 50 bucks, like not that much more expensive, but I got that filter, which I forgot the name of, and I removed all the sand, and now it's looking great. So I don't know if it was the filter or the sand or both, but either way, it's fine with me because the pH and everything is good now. So I'm considering putting the sand back. Apparently the main benefits of sand are just the look of it and the fact that it makes it easier for axolotls to kind of like crawl around because they usually spend their time on the bottom of the water. People have told me that the sand's going to cause impaction, but my understanding is that axolotls are very different from reptiles, and as long as you make good choices on the types of sand, you will have no problems with it. So she's been doing great on it. She's fed not above the water, but at the top of the water, so there's never any food at the bottom. What are the toads doing? But she's been a super fun and super stressful animal to own. She's taken up the most time. Definitely not the most money, but a good little bit of money setting that up and making sure that's all good. But it's definitely been rewarding because she's grown a ton. She's completely changed colors. It's been really cool to see her transform over the past year. So I don't at all regret getting her, but I didn't quite expect just how much work it would get. And unfortunately, it looks like my experiences have like made a lot of people not want them, which I can't do anything about that. So if you want one, I do suggest you go for it, but just make sure you're really prepared because there's a lot more than I expected. So that's Wooby Woo, and that was fun. Well, those are my 4 toads, or 4 amphibians. 2 toads, 1 frog, and 1 aquatic salamander, I guess, or just axolotl. The Woobs, the Sue, the Betty, and the Potato. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing them all. Again, there's like 2 days left on this hoodie design. We're completely sold out of the snake design now. I don't have plans on it coming back, so it sucks to suck if you didn't buy it. Better luck next time. And the Potato will be gone soon too. But what do you think of toads? Are they underrated, or other amphibians in general? Do they deserve more talk in the reptile community? But those are my 4 amphibs. Hope you enjoyed. If you want to see the reptiles, you can check out the other video. But that'll be it. So I'm Alex, and thanks for watching.